Just what does it feel like when you walk into a big warehouse, only to find that that place is filled with well over 1,000 CRT televisions? Well, I'm about to share that exact experience with you now because over the past few months, a large number of CRT enthusiasts like myself, located here in the Northeast United States, have been able to see such a dream like this come true. This is the Fitchburg, Massachusetts CRT warehouse sale. Now, there's no doubt by now that many of you in the CRT community have seen at least something online about this supposed place. I myself have had a hand in spreading the news about this building and its contents. And now I've also kind of been tasked with documenting this truly once in a lifetime experience for you all. So here it is. As I'm sure that any other CRT enthusiast would agree with me on this, seeing these images of pallets filled with hundreds upon hundreds of televisions and monitors is enough to get any one of us completely geeking out. I know I was. I personally have been collecting and playing with these things for well over a decade now, and after seeing the supply of these displays drying up with each passing year, walking into a room that looks like this leaves me feeling nothing short of gobsmacked. Now, at this point, I'm sure that many of you might be having the same thought passing through your heads right now as you view these images. That being, how the heck did all of these televisions wind up here in the first place? Well, let's get that question answered right away. So, one of the former tenants of this warehouse was an electronics recycling center that, for one reason or another, ended up being evicted from this facility. Suffice to say, that recycler really didn't do a very good job of shipping out the televisions that they collected to be recycled. And so, with that business gone now and all of their crap remaining in the building, the property owner now has hired a clean-out crew with the unenviable task of getting all of the recycler's abandoned stuff out of said warehouse. Fortunately for our community, however, the cleanout crew began getting the word out that they were in possession of quite literally a colossal hoard of CRT televisions, and that they'd be willing to rehome as many of these TVs as possible, rather than just dispose of everything. A few local enthusiasts got involved, info began to spread, and we now have had two major public events at the facility so far, where hundreds and hundreds of CRTs have been sold and have been given a second chance at life. Now, sadly, a lot of these tubes definitely are in rough shape. That recycling company didn't really take any precaution at all in just tossing these televisions on top of one another haphazardly, often with many of these pallets ending up 2 or even 3 layers tall. Obviously, this resulted in many of these CRTs collapsing into one another due to the weight, and many others ended up with various other blemishes such as scratched glass, destroyed power cables, or in a few of the most egregious examples, tubes that got completely necked and had their vacuum released, as well as one or two that just straight up imploded, unfortunately. I'd say that maybe 50% of what was in this entire building was just too far gone to be usable any longer. And as someone who really loves this technology, it certainly could be a discouraging thought to think about. However, while that might be a rather high percentage in any other circumstance, given that, again, there was very easily well over 1,000 televisions in this warehouse, that still left hundreds of perfectly usable tubes just ripe for the taking. And so on Sunday, May 10th and Saturday, June 20th of 2026, I, along with many other like-minded CRT enthusiasts from across New England and beyond, took the pilgrimage up to Fitchburg, Massachusetts, in order to get a chance to poke around the building and save ourselves some CRTs. These two events were truly the substance of dreams. I think having been in this building to witness all of these tubes that have been amassed here has really skewed reality. It was a bit hard for me to tell simply because I was just as busy as everyone else while we were digging through these piles, but I'd guess that maybe around 100 people showed up for each of these two events, and I am sure that every single one of us left with at least one piece of treasure. There were still so many tubes to go around. Many of us found ourselves in the peculiar situation where we actually had to be choosy with what we were going to take home with us. It's tremendously hard for any of us to ballpark an exact figure, but just taking a wild guess, I would say that altogether, maybe around 400 to 500 CRTs have been saved from this warehouse so far after these past two sale events. And even so, there still are many hundreds of tubes remaining on the premises. The June 20th sale certainly wasn't the final public event to take place at the warehouse, and if you've missed the first two sales so far but would like to venture out here to attend another one in the future, I'll have a bit more information about that towards the end of this video. Now, as I'm sure that you can probably tell by now, the vast majority of the tubes within this warehouse are all consumer tier sets. A lot of you have asked regarding if any of the more professional stuff, such as PVMs and BVMs, could also be found within the sea of tubes that are housed within this building. And sadly, I must report that those were really the only types of CRT that just couldn't be found among all of these screens here. Most of the limited professional equipment that was dug up among the throngs of tubes were stuff like cash register screens and terminals for manufacturing equipment. A few attendees managed to dig up a couple interesting security monitors with various amounts of phosphor burn-in, but for the most part, this was all probably 80% consumer televisions and 20% computer monitors of varying quality. Thankfully, there were a good number of volunteers on hand, myself included, who brought along a host of testing equipment to help many of the attendees verify the functionality of many of these tubes. The 240p test suite was certainly out in full force during these events, and I personally brought along a Sega Genesis with all of the cables needed to test RF, composite, and component video on anyone's finds. Keeping close to many of these tables that were set up along the center aisle of the main room allowed one to see a huge assortment of interesting tubes that got pulled from the piles. Now, it would have been an impossible task for me to document every single noteworthy tube that left the building on both of these days, but here are some of at least what I would consider to be some of the coolest finds from the warehouse. Probably the tube that I liked the most, which someone else ended up bringing home with them, would have been this late 80s Sony KV-2080R. This thing was wicked awesome looking. Aesthetically, this easily has to be my favorite era of Trinitrons, hands down. Remarkably, it was in pristine shape cosmetically, and displayed a really solid image over composite. The only issue to be found on this CRT while testing it was that the speakers were definitely blown out a bit on this guy. Still though, it was a truly fantastic find, and to the person who ended up taking this awesome television home with them, well, if you happen to see this, please know that I am slightly envious of your score. Congrats, man. Perhaps the biggest professional-looking thing to be pulled from the pallets was this Trinitron security monitor right here. Sadly, I failed to record down the exact model number of this thing while at the event. The front button layout looks pretty much identical to an SSM 20N5U, but I can't 100% confirm that. Volunteers were able to get it working though, and despite having some burn-in on the screen, no doubt from having spent years as a security monitor, it still looked relatively good, all things considered. There were definitely quite a few Vega Trinitrons, Toshibas, JVC IARDs, Panasonic Taus, and other assorted late model tubes found within the mix here, all of varying condition and tube health. For a bit, a few of us were messing around with this Sanyo here that had the strangest service menu that I've personally ever seen. The values for each parameter were stored as a binary number in the television's memory. I'm sure some of you watching have to be familiar with this, but for me, as someone who is all too accustomed to dealing with the typical service menu from Sony's tubes, it definitely was a pretty odd sight for me. There were even some quality finds from brands that you wouldn't even expect. I was particularly impressed with this Sylvania flat tube that someone brought to the testing stands. Despite Sylvania's usual reputation of being a dirt cheap budget brand from back in the day, I gotta say that this thing still was looking pretty dang good. I'd absolutely game on this Sylvania over a worn out Trinitron any day of the week. But I'm sure some of you are really curious about some of the so-called grails that might have been lurking within these pallets, and don't worry, I did film a few of them in action for you. Among all of these tubes, we did uncover one 35XBR48. Yes, that single mythical curved Trinitron with a component input from the factory. But unfortunately, this poor guy was really thrashed, and when trying to get it to power up to test it, we were met with the perpetual blinking standby light. Disappointing, yes, but I mean, you really just can't win them all. We did, however, have one good-sized D-series kicking around by the entrance to the main room of the warehouse, and thankfully it was functional. This one was doing some of the typical D-series things and was suffering from the usual soft focus issues in the corners, but the center was still absolutely tack sharp. For a while at the event we had the attract screen to Mega Man X8 running on it, but of course at one point I also had to put my usual garbage up on the screen as well. People dunk on me for liking 3D Blast. I like it. It's an 8 out of 10 game that's a 6 out of 10 Sonic game.
I beat it on a rental when I was a kid.
If you reskin it, if you take Sonic out of it, it's an 8 out of 10 game. Yeah. But because it's Sonic, it drops it to a 6 out of 10 game.
Just not expected. Not what they expected. Yeah, D-Series bangs, man.
Yeah. But do you know what tube out of all these hundreds of CRTs that I found to be the most impressive? Well, it would be this thing right here. This is a Mitsubishi CS4307 from 1996. And yes, if you are trying to parse that model number out, this is a 40-inch CRT right here. A tube this massive simply couldn't be ignored. Here, I'll just let our testing session with this thing do the talking. All right, guys, do you think we should try out the 40-inch Mitsubishi? Oh, by the way, Wyatt's here.
I can't wait for the return of Wyatt.
I do it every single time. We're hooked up. Wyatt, power that sucker on. We heard it arcing a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like the ano cap needs to be, cleaned up and...
I actually have some with me.
Cool.
Please reset the clock. Input 1. All right, Genesis over composite. Boink. So far, so good. So far, so good. Wyatt, boot up our favorite game.
240p test suite.
Duh.
I would say where do you have it?
Go down to tools and tests, down at the very bottom. Yep.
I can't believe how good this looks, and it's 40 inches, dude. Like, the geometry looks damn good.
Wow. God. Should I go
Do it.
grid?
Do it.
Wow. That's really impressive.
For
how big
40
that is.
inches?
And we didn't touch it, like, we didn't calibrate or anything.
For 40 inches, like...
Wow.
We literally just dug this out of the pile. This is crazy, too. It actually has a designated DGOS button.
You very rarely see that on a consumer set.
I mean, for something this big, it makes sense that it would be on there. Like,
I know some of the other Mitsubishi, the 40 inches, they had settings too, your orientation. Like if you were setting it more like northward or like east-west, like they would actually.
Oh yeah,
compensate
for
for
the
the the geomagnetic pull or field.
dude. Pull up your favorite.
Undead one.
Yeah.
Oh,
Wyatt.
This game's a banger. Even the music's good.
such a banger. I always got to do the. I forgot auto fire is only like the patch wrong.
There's no auto fire?
It's in the pat. You have to hit it in the menu. So now I'm just like. I have it turned off by default. Yeah, it's so rough.
Wyatt, what are you doing?
My fingers hurt just thinking about that.
Look at this thing. This is insanity.
I can't have this composite. It's really good.
I like it. I got no complaints over this.
No, not at all, dude. I haven't played this.
I'd rock this, yeah.
Have you guys played Subterranean?
Yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Like, somebody secret channel, we'll see how much undead line ball I can play.
I was once seeing that Contra Hardcore.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I had it as a kid. So
Yeah,
it's not
hardcore is sick. When you get the slide down,
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're invincible during the slide, right?
Yeah, you get some iframes.
man, this is tiring my finger out.
I bet, dude. Oh my god. Oh, you made it, you pro.
Mud monsters. I've been trying to perfect this level myself, and when they sneak up behind you, that is the absolute worst.
This is the only one I can see. Like, look at this.
Oh, cave is the hard.
There you go.
Cave is. I think cave is actually the hard one. Oh, yep, there it goes. I lost. I blame it on not having auto fire enabled. Right.
Yeah, fooling around with this gargantuan thing was certainly one of the biggest highlights, pun intended, out of the entire contents of this building. Even though this particular Mitsubishi only had composite and S-video for inputs, just the novelty of playing on a CRT that was taking up this much visual real estate was certainly a treat. And I still can't get over how excellent the geometry on this television was. For a 40-inch tube that is now 30 years old and completely unrestored, that's really impressive. Hats off to Mitsubishi for how well this monster has held up over the years. And you know what? Despite all of this awesomeness, no one ever bought this beast at the most recent sale. Alright, I am begging you guys, show up to the next event and bring home this Titan before I do. I have absolutely no room for this thing. I don't even have a vehicle large enough to transport this thing. But I want it. Like, seriously, if one of you lunatics doesn't save this glorious mammoth of a CRT at the next sale event, I guess I'm gonna have to be the lunatic who does. So please, for the sake of future me, bring home this Mitsubishi. Now, despite not coming back from the warehouse with a 40-inch picture tube, though, between these past two events, I did manage to snag some really interesting finds for myself to add to my own personal collection of CRTs. I'm only going to tease them here for now, though. There's enough to say about these new acquisitions that I actually think that it'll work best if I do an entire video about my new pickups separately from this one here. Some of these do need some work anyway, so that'll give me some time to tinker on them and get them in a much more presentable state to share with you all. This will certainly be the subject of my next video here on my YouTube channel, so definitely stay tuned for that. But yeah, even if I didn't come home with a single thing, just getting to live through this once-in-a-lifetime experience of exploring this massive collection of CRTs made traveling up to the warehouse absolutely 100% worth it. A massive thank you to Tyler and all of the warehouse crew for organizing and hosting these events. Again, by all means, they could have just trashed every single tube here and just be done with it, but instead, it's been so exciting getting to see the local community be given access to this hoard and allowing us to save as many of these tubes as we possibly could. And speaking of which, thank you to every single one of you who showed up to the warehouse on either of these sale days. If you were also in attendance, I'm sure that you can agree that this was such an unbelievable experience, just getting to go treasure hunting through all of these pallets together. I certainly know I was having the time of my life in that building, despite the occasional moments of utter bedlam as we bustled around in there. I even got to meet a few of you at the event as well. Let me tell you, it's still surreal hearing someone comment that they recognize my voice and watch them piece it together that I am Steve. It was wonderful chatting with you all, and of course, I apologize to anyone that I possibly might have missed in there. I'm sure you understand that at times we were all just way too busy in the fray. Hopefully, we'll cross paths again soon. And as I mentioned before, there certainly will be more sales being hosted at the warehouse coming up in the future. There are still hundreds of CRTs remaining on the property, and believe it or not, even more pallets of TVs that haven't even been seen by the public yet in a second warehouse, which the team has gradually been moving over to the main building right here. If you're at all interested in attending one of these future events at the warehouse, details regarding when the next sale will take place should be posted online at some point during the upcoming weeks. The best place to keep an eye out for this announcement would be on the RCRT Gaming subreddit. However, the moment that information goes live, I will also make a post about it right here on my YouTube channel. Be sure to keep your eyes peeled for that one. Now, despite my best efforts to film as much as possible during this most recent sales event, it still was just as crazy of a day as the first one that took place back in May, so suffice to say, the majority of my time in the building was spent scrambling around helping folks break down some pallets and test the CRTs that they brought up to the table. Honestly, that without a doubt was my favorite part about this entire experience. Getting to interact with this amazing community, helping others find a really good tube for them to bring home for their own collections, and even just chatting with you all about our mutually shared passions, all made for a tremendously wonderful time for me. I'm certainly glad these warehouse sales have provided the means for getting to enjoy these CRTs with you all, and likewise, if you're able to make it, I hope to catch you at the next event. But in the meantime, that's about it for this very special episode of Steve's Assorted Stuff. Again, I'm really eager to share my personal finds from the warehouse with you all, so it's best I start cleaning and tuning these guys up to get them ready for some screen time here on my channel. Be on the lookout for that video within the next few weeks. And of course, since I'll be helping the warehouse crew consolidate the remaining tubes to prepare for the next sale coming up within a month or so, I might have even more content about the place to share with you all in the future as well. Definitely stay tuned. But it's time I get to work on restoring some CRTs now. As always, I thank you again for joining me for another episode of Steve's Assorted Stuff. Keep on tubing, and until we meet again in the next video, have a great day, everybody.